Welcome back to Punk Rock Theologian. We're starting into a new year, so it seems like a good time to sort of have a refresher on what this is all about. Getting into the Bible on your own and trusting that you don't need to wait for some expert to read it for you and tell you what it means. You can read it yourself. God can speak to you personally and help you understand and give you insight into how He wants you to live your life. I can't give you that stuff. I don't know you that well, but God does. And that's why you need to open the Bible and read it yourself. Don't panic when there's stuff that you don't understand. There's gonna be things that frankly don't make sense to us the first time we read them or the 50th time we read them sometimes. There are things that I've encountered over the last couple decades, stuff that used to really confuse me that eventually I started to understand. There are some things that I used to see one way and then I saw it a different way and then I saw it a different way. And I don't know for sure if that means, well, I was wrong those first two times, or maybe I'm wrong this time, or maybe it's stuff that can have more than one meaning and it applies to different aspects, different times in your life, different ways to different people. God uses His word to speak in very, very many ways. I want to give you an example of one of these things that I've encountered. The story in 2 Kings chapter 3 has always bugged me, but over the years, it's for different reasons. To set the scene, Israel is at war with Moab. God has already promised them the victory, and they are crushing them. They've defeated the army, and they've got the last few of them cornered in one city. But then things get ugly. The last two verses of the chapter say, when the king of Moab saw that he was losing the battle, he led 700 of his horsemen in a desperate attempt to break through the enemy lines near the king of Edom, but they failed. Then the king of Moab took his oldest son, who would have been the next king, and sacrificed him as a burnt offering on the wall. So there was great anger against Israel, and the Israelites withdrew and returned to their own land. Now take a minute and let's look at this. Like I said, Israel is kicking butt and taking names. They've got them on the ropes. And then the king sacrifices his oldest son, who should have been the heir to the throne, as a burnt offering out on the city wall in view of everyone. But frankly, that's awful enough. But then what happens is so weird. What I just read said there was great anger against Israel. Many translations say great wrath came against Israel. And that's the same phrasing that is often used describing God's wrath, which makes it really kind of confusing. Just what is this wrath? Did like Moab's God rise up and do something? Or maybe it's the Moabite army was so fired up by seeing this thing take place that their king was willing to go to these lengths that fired them up and they gave a last push and actually drove the Israelites to retreat. Or possibly the Israelites were just so horrified by this that they didn't even know what to do with it and they just left. All we know is the story just ends there. There's no explanation, there's no closure. No matter what the real answer is, probably look to the Moabites like their God came through for them. The king makes this gut-wrenching sacrifice, and next thing you know it, Israel leaves. I used to really struggle to reconcile this with the rest of the Bible that very clearly shows God is the one true God and all of these others are a pathetic imitation. He routinely defeats the gods of other nations, and yet here it plays out like Moab's God got the last word. What is that? Now I see it a bit differently, and I think this is less a story about Moab's God and more a story about the army of Israel and kind of where they dropped the ball. Because wouldn't we expect them to react differently to this? You would think they'd be so disgusted by this horrific sacrifice to a demon god that they would double down and absolutely wipe Moab off the map and obliterate this vile child sacrificing cult. Honestly, that's what God had told them to do in the first place when they came into the land, to get rid of all the detestable practices that were going on there. But instead, they leave that city standing. And by extension, they leave that horrifying religion practice intact. Just imagine how many more children were sacrificed to this demon god, not just in their own regular worship that they already did, but especially in response to where they saw it come through. They saw what the king did, and their God brought them the victory. I believe Israel dropped the ball on this one. And here's why that matters. Let's fast forward a few thousand years to get up to us. Sure, we think things are a lot different now, but are they really? I mean, you and I aren't generally on a literal battlefield, but we're in a spiritual battle. We haven't been called to wipe out all the people doing these detestable practices, but we have been given a mission. We call it the Great Commission. So it's our job now to reflect God's love to the world. And just like Israel back then, we sometimes come face to face with things that are downright appalling. People far from God can baffle us and horrify us sometimes. Or in other cases, their sheer outrage intimidates us. The question is, what do we do then? Will we let it fuel our determination to bring God's love and truth to a broken world? Or will we pack up and walk away? Galatians 6:9 reminds us, let's not get tired of doing what is good. At just the right time, we will reap a harvest of blessing if we don't give up. It's not about fighting harder in any kind of physical sense. It's about staying faithful to the mission. The Israelites had a chance to finish what God had started, but they left it incomplete. Let's not make that same mistake. When we face opposition or see things that feel too broken to fix, let's lean in, not walk away. God's mission is worth it, and He's already guaranteed the victory. It's our job to just follow Him and keep taking another step and let Him change the world, and we get to be a part of it.